All right, we're just backed out of the garage. It is a beautiful day. There's still some snow on the ground. We're probably around 40 to 50 degrees in temperature here in Southeast Texas. But it's a beautiful day, partly cloudy. Sun is, beaming through those clouds. So we're gonna give Chewbacca a well-deserved break. Maybe get him some dog park time. We're headed to Bill Archer Dog Park to be in, to be a little specific. And, maybe not the best dog park, but it'll give us a chance to digest what we did yesterday as we drove through the snow for the very first time. Now, have I ever driven in snow? Not like that. I don't think, even when I was I was stationed in Connecticut. I was also stationed in Bremerton, Washington. Those are my snow regions. I may have driven in the snow, but I really don't recall it. And whether or not I'm proficient, that leaves no doubt. I probably suck at it. So my proficiency with driving in the snow is terrible. However, we were able to get into our AI student driver version 13.2.2.1 and traverse my little community or what have you, right? We went a decent ways. I'm not saying we traversed all of Houston. There was no need to put ourselves in danger or risk having someone come pick us up out of a ditch or anything like that. But I did want to showcase that me, not being good at driving at all, was able to sit here and supervise and make sure that the car was doing exactly what it needed to do. So kudos to all of those that traverse treacherous snow in various different regions of North America. I assume that your efforts has guided our AI student driver to make this safe for me, someone who doesn't see snow very often. That's all I wanted to really say was thank you so much for giving us the data we need to make sure our AI student driver is capable, at least more proficient than I am, someone that's not used to it, driving in the snow. So thank you, and my wife thanks you. But more importantly, my wallet thanks you, as our AI student driver kept Stygian 2.0 from being a statistic or a casualty as far as needing to go get body work done or popping a tire or whatever strangeness that can occur when snow builds up. Now, it's still Texas, right? It's not cold, but with the wind and whatnot, we can still see freezing temperatures in some regions, even if the sun is out. Now, the sun is melting that snow, creating water. And in freezing temperature, water freezes. It just doesn't look like it did when it was snow. So it's still wet in some areas, especially over bridges and overpasses. There's this dreaded ice, and not the internal combustion engine kind, but the H2O version. That ice is more dangerous when you're facing driving conditions. I mean, obviously we want all these internal combustion engines off the road eventually, but that's gonna take time. Right now, our enemy in the winter in Southeast Texas is H2O frozen over. And we call it black ice down here, especially if you can't see it, where there's just moisture and it doesn't, it just looks like patches of road, and it accumulates there on the shoulders and in the sides. And our AI student driver might have experienced a little bit of ice. There was some fish tailing in some of those scenarios. But yeah, we were able to traverse, get to Kroger, where we really didn't experience any parking issues either. We had one critical disengagement. The red hands popped up on our vehicle as we were, making a right turn onto the feeder of 99. So I'm not sure what caused those red hands. It was rare, and it happened. We took over and we popped our AI student driver back in the driver's seat so he can continue the drive. And there was no mistakes. There was no errors other than some navigational things. But I was thoroughly impressed considering this vehicle in this region has never really experienced snow of that magnitude and was still able to, you know, no fear, as there would have been incredible anxiety and fear from me if I had to go out into that. So, you know, you take that with what it's worth, because me, I just got out of Wes's space today. It was kind of choppy there at the end, some connection issues, but one of our frequent listeners at various different spaces, Jimmy, who's from Minnesota, deals with a lot of ice, snow. I want to thank you personally for all the data that you've given FSD to make this worthwhile for us down here in the great state of Texas. But I believe Jimmy he hasn't experienced version 13 yet, and there is some animosity that has accrued over the time. So I don't know. I think he might be the one that thinks he's on a blacklist where he used to get the updates quick, fast, and in a hurry, and now they're not flowing like they used to. You could hear it in his voice when he makes comments about Tesla and FSD. He's under the mindset that FSD isn't going, you know, have robotaxi capability at least for a decade. So 2035 is when he thinks Tesla will finally be able to put driverless cabs on the road. And, you know, what do I know except that Tesla is planning to have, you know, the Cybercab in full throw production by the end of 2026. You know, it seems like that 9 years might be a problem with these vehicles that have no controls. Now, I've seen on the interwebs of a Cybercab with controls. We'll see. Maybe there's some truth to that, maybe not. As our AI student driver version 13, there's very little complaints with how we drive. We've actually dropped it down to chill, because chill in the past used to be problematic, like it was driving Miss Daisy. But now chill abides by the speed limit, drives maybe a couple of miles under the speed limit. These speed profiles have gotten a serious upgrade, in my personal opinion, from version 12 to version 13. So, but I've found that chill is more than useful for what I need to do. It's not so slow that people want to pass it all the time, and if it's not the slowest vehicle in the slow lane for certain, and it will pass other vehicles to make sure it gets to its destination, but in a less assertive way, in a more chill way, you know? It's not trying to win any NASCAR pit laps or anything like that, but it does what it needs to do. It's efficient. So maybe there'll be some more tweaking of the profiles, but as of right now, chill is my setting. So we got my co-pilot with us this time, Chewbacca. Typically, when it's dangerous, I have no problem putting me and my wallet at risk. But I don't want to do anything to hurt Chewbacca or my wife. So when it comes to snow driving or, you know, edge case testing in areas that I'm not familiar with, don't expect to see Chewbacca or my wife with me. When we're doing our daily drives, when we're, you know, I expect Yosh to continue to use FSD, right? As she goes to and from work, especially from work, when she's not in any real serious rush and maybe needs to de-stress from work activities, I can see it. Like, she's like, I used FSD today. Little things like that. I was like, oh, that's nice. Did you like it? She's like, yeah, it was pretty good. And I was like, well, if pretty good is the standard answer, I'm all for that, because if she's like, I had to turn it off, then we got problems, and we need to probably have an education course on when and where and how to use it, and just identifying where FSD may be having problems. So, but I like hearing her say, yeah, I went to go see mama and used FSD. I was like, oh, how was it? She's like, it was good. You know, it was pretty good. That tells me that, one, she's going to use the software more. She found it useful, mainly because Chewbacca was with her, and, you know, I like Chewbacca's here. He's not wild. It's not like he's crazy. But having the vehicle do the majority of the driving, that's just one less distraction. And I think my wife, she doesn't handle Chewbacca quite like I do. She likes to touch him, which excites him. All this other stuff gets him riled up or whatever, but he's more calm with me, is my take. So when he's in the vehicle with her, I have a feeling she's going to have FSD engaged more times than not, simply because it's one less thing to worry about while Chewbacca's in the vehicle. It's all subject to change, you know? Who knows? Maybe FSD has a regression. And she's like, fuck that. You know, I don't want to use the software anymore. I didn't like it. It made a sporadic turn, or it you know. I think all of that is, one, speculation, and two, only you can determine whether or not you're okay with giving up that control. She'll make any excuse in the world if she just doesn't feel like she should be giving up the control, which is, you know, driving. So we got the yellow light here. While this GMC is going to run the red light, our vehicle stops. Now, that's a human. Was there any real threat? Maybe if this vehicle and the lights were not synced up properly, could have ended up T-boning that vehicle. I don't know. It's really just not worth it. You see how fast that light turned green? But yet, it was it was imperative that the GMC break the law to miss that light, to only be stopped at this next red light up here. You know what I mean? It might save seconds at best. I think we're about to catch the red light. We're about to catch the GMC at this red light. What are we doing, people? What are we doing? So there's the GMC. It's a few cars ahead. But man, there's no real reason to break that light, or to run that red light, break the law. But hey, you know, I can't wait to see FSD become ubiquitous, and I hope I'm alive for it. That, you know, because I know it's going to, Teslas are going to spread like wildfire simply because of the technology. But being able to import it on other vehicles, that'll be the kicker, right? I don't know if, you know, retrofitting a Toyota to have FSD, how expensive that would be. You know, placing the cameras, allowing the computer chips and the software to take over the manual controls. I don't know, but it's gonna be pretty obvious that humans are not supposed to be driving. So we'll see. I look forward to trying to be alive to see how this plays out. And to Jimmy, who thinks that, you know, we're 10 years away from robotaxi, I don't know, man. Like, that seems a long ways away. I just can't, you know, maybe if I was still on version 12, would I still think that FSD was 10 years away if I was still on 12.5.4, whatever? Probably not. I still think it's faster than that, simply because of the sheer progress we've made from version 11 to version 12, right? That progress alone, unless we were to get stonewalled and we didn't see any progression, any updates whatsoever, you know, for like months, 6 months to a year, then I'd be like, yeah, it's probably, you know, it's probably tougher than anybody anticipated. But that's not what I'm feeling. I'm getting updates like rapidly. So all throughout 2024, my skepticism was probably the highest around April-ish. And then Elon said something about, yeah, robotaxi event in August. And I was like, oh, excuse me? And then the updates started dropping, right? Mainly for the beta testers that, you know, have been around, the OGs. And then my vehicles, well, at the time, Panda, started receiving these updates. And I'm like, okay. And then they were happening like legitimately every month. Something transformative. Then Ashok puts out a roadmap about what he expects to see FSD do. And then they, you know, they might not have hit those timelines exactly. But, you know, even if you're close, nobody else on the planet is trying to achieve what they're trying to achieve with, you know, the tools presented. So, and I'm talking about a vision-based only system. I'm able to own this vehicle. it's able to do maneuvers like things that it just couldn't do before, things that it would be too scared to do, handling problem areas that arise, right? Like school zones. It's not perfect in school zones, but they're tackling it, and you could feel it. You could see what the car is trying to do via the visualization, and you know, that's just one aspect. Whereas, you know, we talk about construction zones, the ability to maneuver when things aren't ideal, you know, the object avoidance, pothole detection, these things, it just, like, we want them to be fixed, and it's easier said than done. That's probably what I'm tiptoeing around. The fact that they're accomplishing these things, whereas, you know, during my first year of using FSD, yeah, I mean, you might get an update every 3-4 months, every quarter, you might see an update, and then you'd be grateful, and it's still not, you know, it obviously wasn't perfect. You'd have disengagements all the time, but it would do spectacular things every now and then. Those spectacular things are now becoming a lot more frequent, like almost to the point of normalcy, that it is rare to see the vehicle flub, like just a ridiculous flub. And when it does flub, it typically is around when other vehicles aren't around. I'm not saying it doesn't. There was a time when I was in the left-hand turn lane and there were vehicles around us, and it, you know, knew it needed to keep straight, and instead of just making the left and looping around, it tried to blend back into traffic to the right. Like, these are considered problems, but the problem solving of our AI student driver is impeccable to me. Like, even if it makes a mistake, it quickly corrects that mistake almost faster than I possibly could. So that, to me, shows that it is trying to do things in a manner that is less requiring of my attention. Like, even when it makes a mistake, I'll be like, was that right? And then it'll just correct it. I don't know. It's tough to explain, but the progress alone has me thinking unsupervised rides by the end of 2025 for sure. Like, it wouldn't take much to cater to a certain area. Like, do they want to do that? Probably not. But you have all this data. You have all these vehicles all over North America telling you when the vehicle would disengage, you know, talking about shadow mode, or when users found it uncomfortable, or, you know, it's just not right, something is wrong. I mean, if those things keep getting, you know, like hot spotted, you know, if that over and over, you're having problem areas with these areas, you can, one, identify those areas, and then use your mapping situation to just be like, don't ever traverse this area. Like, I don't think it would take, you know, easier said than done, but, you know, it just seems like some simple problems that Waymo has already encountered. If Waymo is experiencing an issue, they're just going to avoid that out of the trajectory path. They're just gonna be like, nah, we'll just do a circuitous route and you'll get there, you know, no worse for wear. You know, maybe a little longer, but no worse for wear. Tesla's data, it flows like a river. They have so much data to work with, and then to be able to shape that data for user customer satisfaction, that's what has me so bullish with TSLA. Is because not that other people won't try to enter this space. They will. They're just gonna find out that Tesla makes it easier than it looks. And their customer satisfaction is just gonna be through the roof because they have so much data to make the product exquisite. Even, you know, effortlessly exquisite. That's why I feel that, you know, even if there's other players in the game, Tesla's gonna dominate, simply because that's what they do. And, you know, I've gone on a tangent. I don't even know where the stock ended up today. Was it around 418? We're hovering around that 420, ladies and gentlemen, for a while now. It's I'm not a chart analytics kind of guy, but something tells me Tesla's chart is quite bullish. You know, higher highs, lower, higher lows. You know, and the more it just stagnates in this period, whew, I can't accumulate enough Tesla shares fast enough. And I've got a pretty sizable amount, and I know I want more. I need more. All right, so we have now made a right turn. I mean, an effortless, easy job from my garage to Bill Archer Dog Park. Right now we're in the last 100 feet. This is my point of contention right here. But, you know, if you're just a ride-hail service, letting me out anywhere in this area, I'm not gonna be mad. We might be able to fine-tune and tweak these situations, but I'm not gonna be mad. If it chooses to stop right here, which it does, I am not mad at. You know, eventually they're gonna know that this is my vehicle and I'll be able to, you know, handle it. We'll just auto park it right here. But man, to say that it's 10 years away, that's a person that's obviously not tried version 13. That's all I'm gonna really say about it, because I'm gonna be in the inner loop maybe tomorrow, if not Friday. I'm gonna try to do it tomorrow with some grok recommendations to make sure I hit those intersections properly, and we're gonna just record all of it. But for now, Chewy's got some business to do, right, boss? Right, Chewbacca and I have done a few laps. It's warming up significantly out here, so yeah, really good walk. But where I was thinking about going to Buc-ee's or something, and you know, I just figured it's probably best if I just take my ass home and get ready for my space tonight. So we're gonna do a hump day nightcap again, a FSD production, and you know, just talk about FSD. You know, see what's going on. JC and I just had snow in Southeast Texas. We put our drives up on the interwebs there just to show people what the software can and cannot do, right? It's not always sunshine and lollipops out here, although it's pretty nice out here today. But yeah, we're gonna host that space 7 p.m. Central Time. This video may or may not be up before then. I'm not sure. It really just depends on how I feel. So as we jump out on Highway 6, we have a U-turn to make. Let's see how we do with this U-turn. I mean, we had a flawless drive to the dog park. You know, it's pretty special. This is a area where we can conduct U-turns, so that is nice of the navigation to know that. And let's see what happens. We have an entryway here. Our AI student driver is going to take it. We do it. Don't need any excessive 3-point turning as this Tesla pulls up on our left. An old school Model Y. We say old school even though the new Model Y isn't, you know, the Juniper's not here in the United States. But yeah, that's going to be old school Model Y from now on. I hate to be adding to the Osborne effect here, but you know, now what else can you do? People are still going to buy that car. Only Tesla nerds in their general vicinity knows that Juniper is coming, but don't know when. So if you're in the market for a car and you're Xing out the best vehicle on the planet because it might have a light bar in 6 months, yeah, you might want to be thinking about some different life choices. I mean, what are you gonna do if you don't buy the Model Y and it was on your radar, but now it's not because the Juniper is on the way? What are you gonna buy instead? You might just wait, but you know, anything other than the Tesla just won't do if that was, you know, in the cards at this stage of the game, right? It's the best-selling vehicle on the planet. Well, the cells might be a little lighter because people might opt to wait. And plus, we're in a macroeconomic environment that is punishing to those that don't know how to manage a checkbook, let alone their finances. So, yeah, I'm not too terribly concerned. For me, if Tesla misses on the next quarter or two when it comes to vehicle deliveries, I could care less, because Tesla's metric for success, it doesn't stem on vehicles delivered any longer. I mean, that helps. I mean, that's where they make a lot of their money at the moment, but that is not the goal. If you're not seeing what this company is capable of and what is, even if you're taking a bear case in potential, it's still astounding. And they're not gonna, the bear case ain't what it is, right? This car is doing things in AI and robotics that, other companies just could only dream of. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm getting a lot of haters on the channel, a lot of commenters, right? Maybe some of my YouTube shorts are a little more polarizing. I make statements such as Tesla has no competition, and I guess it might ruffle some feathers of those that maybe can't see. It just, I don't know. It's painfully obvious to me when this vehicle is doing the majority of my driving. One of the comments, I do believe, said that Tesla isn't even in the top 5 when it comes to autonomy. Yeah, cool story, bro. Like, you can't, if Waymo was here, and I'm not saying Waymo is bad, but if Waymo was here in Houston, in a place where I could buy, just order a ride, like if it was a thing, I would use it way more than I would drive my Tesla, probably. Is that the case? Or is that what we're saying? Probably not. Mainly because those Waymos are only going to be able to operate in a fraction of the space of that city. Sure, Waymo's in LA. Sure, Waymos are in the Bay Area, Atlanta, Austin. They got projected cities all the way up until 2027 that they plan to invade, right? With their, they might have 1,500 cars, and that's probably being superiorly generous to what the last number was on their call, right? If they're even scaling to that level. Are they growing 50%? Are they growing 100%? Who the fuck knows? Like, to me, they have less than 1,000 vehicles in all the areas that they operate, which is good. Waymo, there is a purpose to be served, especially if they can eventually scale up to something that puts a significant dent in the lives lost on U.S. roads, right? U.S. highways. But as far as I could tell, Waymo isn't even operating on highways, right? So why I have so much confidence and faith in Tesla is because I'm actually sitting in the seat watching the vehicle operate better than I possibly could in 99% of these situations since I've had version 13. Well, how about put it this way? Since I've had Stygian 2.0, 99% of my driving has been on FSD. That should tell you something, right? Like, even if there is disengagements, I'm turning the vehicle right back to FSD immediately, even after a disengagement of any kind, because I have more faith in the software than I do my own driving. In 99% of the situations. The other 1%, I think my wife had the vehicle for a day. So that might account for why she was why this vehicle in particular was driving not on FSD. And it's gonna take people a while to acclimate. I just got through with the dog park. We just ran over a fucking branch. That's the type of object avoidance I would like. But even then, we still have that van to contend with. Our AI student driver has to make a decision. Do we hit this branch or do we run into the curb to the left? Do we hit this branch or do we try to veer off into this lane and potentially cause an accident for a family of 3 or 4 in that van? You know, I'll pay for the tire. I mean, it's a mild annoyance, but to me, that's not a hit on FSD. It's making the best decision. And if I'm driving, I might swerve to miss that branch and causing this family in this van to the right of me some discomfort, if not an accident. So, you know, I'll pay for the tire. I'll pay for the scuff on the lower part of the I just don't want it to damage the battery housing, obviously, but you know, if it was big enough, we could have probably stopped to try to avoid it. Maybe there's some way that we can do it, but to me, that's just, you know, that's nitpicky stuff. Whereas, you know, it didn't even cause a disengagement. We kept it pushing. There are no warning signs on. We're fine. Just nitpicky, comfort stuff. But like I was saying, we're at the dog park. I pulled in, and as I'm pulling Chewbacca out of the car, the guy rolls down his window. He's like, "I like your car. Nice car." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, man, it's pretty cool." And he's like, "I used to have a Performance," right? And I was like, "Used to?" And he's like, "The insurance was too much," right? So he was a driver at night, so he's like, the vehicle insurance was just crazy for him. He had to trade it in. You know, and I get it. It's not for everybody, especially if you're already trying to make a stretch to a Tesla. These aren't super cheap in comparison to other vehicles. Now, right now, we're being passed on the right, and we got an interloper. We're gonna answer this and do the best we can with it. Yo, I got the camera rolling. What's going on, boss?
Oh man, I was just calling you back.
Oh, okay.
What the game was. Yeah.
No, I was just calling to see that you and Pat had a little tiff. When I woke up this morning, I was like, what the hell happened?
Well, he didn't hang up the phone, and I hear him say, I don't really gotta do that. I just wanted to get rid of him. You know, like,
he said that before? Oh, wow. Remember, we are recording, so if he watches this, you got air his dirty laundry out. But that I saw that, I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good.
Doesn't bother me at all, man. Heck, anybody, I've had a couple people this week say things like, "Did I hurt your feelings?" Hurt my feelings. Come on, now you gotta have them first.
Gotta have them first. Gotta have them first.
Yeah, and I don't get, ain't one of you guys ever gonna hurt my feelings. You guys say the truth to me. You know what I mean? Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, he wasn't telling you the truth that time.
No, he wasn't. He was being conceited. Heck, if you just say, "I'm going, I'm tired of you," good. Transparency works. But
it would probably be easier.
Cute about it.
It would probably be easier if he's like, "Hey, man, I'm going to bed." And that's what he said, right?
But then he didn't hang up, and he had the dialogue afterwards. You know what I mean? I'm like, I could hear you.
Oh man, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
No, I ain't really want nothing, man. I just took Chewbacca to the dog park and letting the car do all the driving.
You guys still got snow down there?
No, it's some, like you can see it clumping in some areas of the grass, but man, it feels like a nice spring day.
Heck yeah, days getting longer, my man. They're getting longer. Beauty's on its way. Suntans and bikini bottoms, you know, all good stuff. Well, cool, man. Well, do I gotta answer any questions for the video? Do I gotta say weird things?
No, I just want to let you know you're being recorded. I mean, we could talk normal, but just know that I'm not gonna bleep anything out or anything, or just know you're being recorded. What do you want to talk about?
Somehow when you never have to tell me I'm being recorded. I won't mind. I'll just say weird stuff to you, man. Weird stuff, but I guess I'll keep the weird to myself now, because I feel like
it's up to you. Because I could care less. I know who you are to an extent, right? So there's nothing. I just want people to know that if you want to continue this conversation, I'm not turning off the camera. Say whatever you want. Say whatever you want. I just would recommend not incriminating yourself for any reason.
No,
because I could care less if advertisers decide to put their material next to my video. I mean, it's not like I'm a like, it's making some money, but it's not like I consider this a revenue stream. Like, this barely would pay for Netflix. So I could care less if the advertisers choose to, you know, cuss if you want, do whatever you want.
Well, I did just have a real long conversation about what Trump's got to do to make me think he did better than Biden. I tell you what, though, it's a low-hanging fruit. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that. But the one thing I couldn't get through the guy was, I was like, you know that Kamala beat Trump in the debate, though. You know that.
Well, that's
and it's like
speculative. Like, there's no way to prove that. The only way you could use the metric of proving it would be who won.
Right. We all know that Biden got stomped by Trump in the debate. We all know that. There's no deniability on that. He looked old. He looked real old.
Didn't look good.
And we know.
Good.
And we knew that Waltz versus Vance, depending on your political ideology, it was a 50-50 toss-up. Waltz would have won if he didn't do his really looking like a scared boy talking about Tiananmen Square. Like, if he wouldn't have done that, he probably won. But
to me, this is how I thought. When there was no, you know, when Biden bowed out and there was no real primary, right? Like, and they were like, well, who wants to go down on this sinking ship? Now, Waltz is a fine politician, but I don't think he was an A-lister. It kind of showed. It kind of showed. So I think they put that ticket together, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. And by golly, the worst occurred.
They got the worst. I mean, a sweep. Denied.
It was
Back
pretty
to
bad.
Thunder. Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
I think they call it pretty much a clean sweep.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But you know,
if old boy can do a balanced budget, I technically say he beat Biden. I think he did way better. If he can do a balanced budget, but I don't think he can.
they're gonna do a lot of spending, but it's gonna be justified spending in their eyes, right? And I don't get too terribly political in these videos, but I mean, we served in the military. You know who our commander-in-chief is, regardless of if you voted for the guy or not. You're still gonna do your civic duty and serve your country, right? And I'm gonna call a spade a spade. So if he does something fucked up, just like when Biden does something controversial or, you know, maybe somewhat questionable, I'll acknowledge it. But if there's no better answer, or if nobody could, you know, think of a better solution, I mean, what can you really do, right? So if Trump does something nice, I'm gonna call it out as what it is. But he's only going to serve the Republican agenda and his base, right? Like, whatever that is, and it's fluid. Because the one thing I can say,
very fluid.
One thing I can say about Trump is that man he's like a weather vane, right? If the wind is blowing east, that motherfucker's with the east.
He's like Mark Zuckerberg.
If it's
like Mark Zuckerberg.
But you know, because there is no one right answer, and I think Trump embodies that pretty good. So he either comes off as a guy that is fluid, not gender, but a guy that is fluid, you know, and can move with whoever's in the room, right? But the actions is what I'm going to really see what happens, right? He's gonna do a lot of things that is wildly popular with his people, but when shit hits the fan, I want to see his response.
Yeah. But I think that Biden really flopped because one of the things was, I think a core tenet of the Democrat Party trying to beat him was like equality for people, and I don't think they got that. I I think equality was exacerbated in the wrong direction because of COVID. So he was dealt a difficult hand, and he couldn't even restore any balance on it. The bureaucracy ran it. Biden didn't. Everyone knows that. He wasn't pushing anything really. The bureaucracy was slow, proddy, not getting it done. But so he failed in what the metric I would think for a good Democrat would be. So, social services, all the things that everyone, kind of socialist kind of agenda. But I look at what Trump's trying to do, man. If he can get a balanced budget, all the things he does wrong, if he can make the money right, I think that he gets, like, in the history times, I think that even though he may not be liked, he may get credit. And that's where he needs something to give him credit.
His legacy, right? This is his legacy term. If you think about the first term, it was chaotic. I really don't know what his hallmark was. What is his hallmark of his first? But in the same respect, what is Biden's hallmark? When you look back on this 10 years from now, what is these 4 years going to say about President Biden?
It's very like Jimmy Carter-esque. You know, it's like there's things happening in the world, and we didn't manage them very well. We didn't manage the things they played to us. Although Jimmy did have a good peace accord, but you know, I don't think that he gets a lot of credit. And I don't think he deserves it.
He got a Nobel Peace Prize. What are we talking about? He doesn't get his credit.
Yeah, but what president? Did Obama got one? I don't think George got one. Did Bill get one?
I don't think so. Like, I don't think it's. I don't think every president is like, "Where's your Nobel Peace Prize?" You know what I mean? I don't think they're so common that every president gets one.
Obama got one?
Obama, but what's his legacy? Healthcare.
This is where you get me in trouble, right?
Okay.
This is where his legacy is tarnished by the uprising of a complete opposition movement.
How does that tarnish his legacy? How does that tarnish his legacy?
Well, his legacy is the least criminal president in the history of the world, right? There was less cases brought against him because he didn't do things really in the gray. He kept a clean nose. There was nothing. A couple things maybe, but nothing of note. You know, every other president had a lot of that. Did he drop more? But then again, giving him a peace prize when I'm pretty sure the number is that he dropped more bombs than any other president in the world. That doesn't seem very peaceful to me either. That seems kind of contradictory, but that's just me.
What's his award for?
I don't know, man.
What's his award for?
I'd have to look at it. I thought it was a peace prize.
Yeah, but I mean, it's for something, right? Was it for Obamacare?
You know, that's a good question. That was one of the...
Hold on just a second. We're going to continue this conversation. We've reached a point in our FSD journey where we're here. We had 0 interventions. We had 0 disengagements whatsoever. Got us from point A to point B and back from point B to point A. And Chewbacca and I are going to go inside. We're going to continue our conversation with Mr. Schmecker. And that's all I've got for you today. Be easy. Peace.